Let's get into Google Ads for water damage restoration, the campaign setups, tips and tricks. Let's get into it. Part 2.
This isn't just any podcast. This is your secret weapon for dominating the market.
This is the Restoration Marketing Secrets Podcast, and this is your host, Sean McMeen.
Welcome to Restoration Marketing Secrets. I'm your host, Sean McMeen. Today's episode is episode 15. We've officially been at this every day for over 2 weeks now, and we are doing a 365-day challenge for this podcast journey. And again, this is episode 15 on September 10th, 2023. So, this is Sean, and last episode we talked about Google Ads for water damage restoration. The pros, the cons, whether you should do it, whether you shouldn't do it. So if you haven't listened to part 1, go back and listen to that. What we're going to talk about today is campaign structure and sort of a methodology that we use to set up these campaigns for water damage restoration. Now, what I talked about on the last episode was about the pros and cons of it, the long-term strategy of it, of running Google Ads for water damage restoration, some things that will ultimately be difficult to overcome as far as volume of actual searchers and the competitors and all of those things. Today, we are going to talk about everything related to setting up a campaign and how to structure that campaign. So I'm going to assume that you listened to episode 1. We're not going to talk anything more about theory or whether you should do it, whether you shouldn't do it. Again, go back and listen to episode 1 if you want to take it. It's definitely worth a listen, but you should definitely do that. So today, if you want to run a water damage restoration campaign for water-related terms, flood-related terms, you really want to set up the campaign in a structure that's going to give you the best success. Now, here's what I'll say, is that you have to start with a budget of at least 150 to 250 per day. Okay? And you might say, dude, you're crazy. I'm not going to spend 150, 250 a day. Here's what I'll tell you. One of the biggest companies out there, 33-mile radius, Restoration Local. Many of you guys are signed up for them, and I recommend use multiple fishing poles in the water. They run Google Ads for Restoration Local. They collect those calls, right? And I'm not going to get into their philosophy and everything like that. But they run Google Ads, and if you look at their campaigns, what they do is they will capture that lead through Google Ads and then resell it to you for $550. Okay? So here's the thing. There's pretty low margins on that. Now, if you don't answer the calls, and we're not going to get into that, all that stuff. But here's the thing, what I'll say is that if you're not spending 150 to 250 per day, you're going to only get 1 or 2 clicks, and you're going to miss out on the bulk of the searches. Now, with that being said, you have to set up the campaign so you do not waste money. The number one thing you need to do is making sure that you set up a search campaign and you started off the search campaign as structure as maximize clicks. And the reason why you want to do that is you want to capture data, okay? And so there's multiple ways of bidding structure that you can set it up as. Maximize clicks. You can do manual CPC. You can do conversion based. All of those different structures, right? What we recommend, if you've never ran the campaign before, you have no data, set up as maximize clicks. Okay, so that's the first thing, is the bidding structure first. We will get into what we go after you run the data. But maximize clicks, set it up that way. And you want to set up multiple ad groups for variations of different terms. So for instance, flood cleanup, flood damage restoration, flood remediation. Any flood related terms, you want to throw them in one ad group. Any water related terms, you want to throw it in one ad group. Any basement flood cleanup or basement flood, you want to put it in an ad group. Any sort of repair or water damage repair, or even water damage build back, or those types of things, you want to put in an ad group. Okay, any geo-specific terms that you want to have, put them in their own ad group. Okay, so if you are in Chicago and you want to do water damage restoration Chicago, put it in its own ad group, Chicago geo-specific terms. Okay, and what this does is allows you, by having separate ad groups, it allows you to have the ad copy unique to that ad group. Okay, and so that's how you want to set up your ad groups. They're called themed ad groups, right? So you want to have a theme for each ad group related to the underlying term itself. So if it's flood, if it's water, if it's basement, if it's geo-specific, if it's sewer, you want to have those themed ad groups is what you want to have. Now, what do you set the keywords for? Typically, what I would recommend doing is do phrase match and exact match. Now, you could, if you're an Google Ads expert, there's many ways to skin a cat, but at minimum, you do not want to do broad match. Okay, broad match means there's no parentheses, there's no brackets around it. You want to do exact match or phrase match. Okay, so for instance, you would have a flood ad group and you'd add flood cleanup, you'd add flood restoration near me, flood remediation, flood cleanup, those types of terms in one ad group. In another ad group, you would add basement flood cleanup, flooded basement, my basement flooded, who do I call? Those types of terms in one ad group. Okay, and so again, you're theming them, and then that way you can make the ad copy related to that. All right, so that is how you would set that up. Now, once you have your campaign structured, you have your ad groups, you have your keywords for your ad groups. Again, phrase match, exact match is typically what I would start out with. You want to do your ad copy. Typically what you'll do is Google is going to recommend, based on your campaign structure and the keywords that you're using, that you use specific, like they'll put in phrases in there and things like that you should be using in the campaign to get a higher score. And ad score, ad grade, ad rank, whatever you want to call it, it's important. It definitely is. But what you want to do is go out and look what your competitor is running in your area and see what's showing up at the top. Okay, part of showing up at the top is the amount you're bidding, but also you don't want to be so off of the ad copy, because it just won't look right. So for instance, if you just go with what Google recommends, it could be a hodgepodge of different information on that ad, because these are responsive ads now, and so let's talk ad copy. Typically what I'll do at the beginning is, because you're theming the ads, you're going to use that main theme keyword at the first sentence, and you're going to pin that first sentence of variations of that ad group. So if it's flood cleanup, you'd have flood cleanup as the first word. You'd have flood restoration near me, or you'd have flood remediation, flood cleanup as that pinned first sentence, first line. Then the second line, you'd have some sort of call to action, available 24/7, or emergency restoration services, or local 2, and then a geo type term in there, or call for a free estimate, those types of things. Look and see what the competitors are running, and at minimum, do something similar. Do not copy what they have, but do something similar. All right, so there's going to be then a description for that ad. So you want to look at what your competitor is doing, but you want to create your own description that has some variation of the keyword theme in that description. So if it's flood cleanup, it would say something to the effect of A1 Restoration Chicago provides flood cleanup services. We have over 13 years of experience, IICR certification, blah, blah, blah. available for contact us for emergency or something along those lines, right? Kind of spitballing here, right? But you get the idea. Take a look at your competitors and then make sure you're at least in line with them. So we've talked about campaign structure, bidding structure. We've talked about ad group, themed ad groups. We've talked about keywords, phrase match, exact match. We've talked about ad copy. Within ad copy, you can do a dynamic keyword insertion. So there's this option there where you can say, Google will, based on what the searcher searched, you can have dynamic keyword insertion, and then you can have a default. So for instance, if you're doing flood cleanup or flood themed ad group, for that ad, you can have the dynamic insertion, and you can then put like default flood cleanup near me or flood cleanup service. And then the dynamic insertion part of it means that if the searcher searched a specific variation of that, it would put that into the ad copy. I typically pin this at the first line, and then that way if you search flood cleanup or flood remediation or flood restoration service, that keyword then would be there versus what the default is. So if you know a little bit about Google Ads, that will make sense. But so again, that's the main structure of the campaign. Let's talk about device type. So device type, typically what I will do is when you first start out the campaign, you're going to do desktop and mobile. But I typically will bid a little bit higher on mobile. So you can have a weighted section within the device types. You would say 10% more you're going to pay for mobile. And that's within the settings of the device types. You can set that up for the campaign. So that's typically what I'll do there. For locations, so when you set up your campaign, you're going to select your locations. Typically, I will not just do a whole county. I will do zip codes within that county so I can see where the clicks and impressions and everything are coming from. You can do cities, you can do counties, but at the end of the day, I want to get as granular as possible, so I'll put zip codes in there. So when we talk to our clients, we'll say, okay, what zip codes are we going to go after? Are there more important zip codes than other zip codes? And so we'll put in there as a zip code setup. Next thing I want to talk about is your landing page. So on your landing page, typically you're going to do, well, let's backtrack just a second. Google extensions. So you want to make sure you connect your Google business profile. You want to make sure you have a call extension in there. Those are all important things. And then you also want to make sure that you have call outs or, additional links and extensions. The names, I'm drawing a blank on the names right now, but within the extensions, you can have different call outs, get a free estimate or contact us, and you put those all into the campaign structure as well. Something that I did not mention yet that is probably the most important is negative keywords. Since we're at 13 minutes now, I typically don't like to have these episodes go long. This next episode, we're going to end this episode here, all about campaign structure, campaign setup, and again, take a look at our website, restorationmarketing.com, and you can download a resource about Google Ads setup. But I'm just giving you a high-level overview of all these things in here. So what we're going to do on next episode, we're going to talk about negative keywords. We're going to talk about landing pages. We're going to talk about some extensions as well. And really the point of this next episode will be about the conversion side of things. How do you get the best conversion for these campaigns? So until next time, hopefully this was helpful, give you some insights on how we set these campaigns up to start off. And again, this is just a starting point. You will change and modify the campaign and optimize the campaign ongoing, right? Just because this is where you start at doesn't mean this is where you end and where the optimization gets better. Every campaign is different. No matter where you deploy it, it's going to be different. It's never going to perform the exact same, even if you start in the same structure, same setup and everything. And the reason why it's different is because the competitors in that specific area are different, and what people are searching for is a little different. So keep that in mind. Even if you start one way, it's not always going to end that way, and you have to do the optimization and let the data tell you where to go from there. So this is the end of episode 15. Yes, episode 15 of Restoration Marketing Secrets. And again, next time we're going to talk about one of the most important topics, negative keywords, landing pages, and conversions and tracking conversions. So until next time, this is Sean McMeen. Thanks for listening on. Hopefully you got some helpful insight on this, and I'll talk to you next time.
You've been listening to the Restoration Marketing Secrets Podcast. Sean's not here to just talk the talk. He's walked the walk. With a track record of helping over 70 damage restoration companies and engaging in over 500 conversations with industry owners, he's seen it all. From digital marketing triumphs to the most ingenious growth hacks, he's got the keys to the kingdom, and he's sharing them with you. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, for more, hit the website at restorationmarketing.com. See you next time on the Restoration Marketing Secrets Podcast.